Well, look where we're at, the Russell Underground. I told you guys we're going bigger and better. You're watching Spag Says. And as I was preparing for this episode, exactly what I wanted to talk about for my monologue, I started thinking. I started thinking about what's going on in the world. There's still war going on. There's famine. We still have the impending threat of climate change, political polarization. That's problematic, maybe, right? And then I got thinking, I think the greatest threat to humanity as it stands today is jam bands. Now, I know some of you guys are probably thinking, like, what in the world is a jam band? And some of you, I know, are nodding your head saying, yeah, I know what he's talking about. I know what jam bands are, right? No, jam bands are an existential threat to humanity because of what the music does to the fans. Now, you're probably thinking, if you're not familiar with what a jam band is, they're the bands like the Grateful Dead, Widespread Panic, Fish. These bands where they take, 2 minutes of singing just the same lyrics over and over, and then they combine that with 20 minutes of just noodling around on a guitar. I mean, it's just the most bizarre garbage, frankly, you ever heard. Now, let's look at a specific example. Let's look at Dave Matthews and the Dave Matthews Band. For those who are familiar with his music, we can all agree that objectively, his music sucks, right? That's not even like disagreeable. That's just plain fact. His music is not good. Now, here's my problem with Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews does this thing. If you've ever seen him live or if you've seen him on YouTube, none of his songs are that compelling enough to make you dance, let alone the way Dave Matthews actually dances. Like, just for example, if you ever see Dave Matthews live, he does this thing where, like, he'll be playing his song and, like, he's got, like, the guitar in one hand and he's just singing, and then he's, like, going around stage like there's no reason why the music of Dave Matthews should make you dance like that, okay? That's just weird, okay? Furthermore, my problem with jam bands, and specifically the fans themselves, is how they communicate with one another, okay? You look at the Grateful Dead, for example. Their fans talk about concerts with each other like they're speaking like some ancient Navajo code. I mean, you think about it. You go into a Grateful Dead fan, and rather than saying, hey, man, what's your favorite Dead album? They come to you and they're like, yeah, so I'd probably say, like, my favorite Dead performance is probably August 18th, 1979, live at the Showroom, Davenport, Iowa. I think it's some of Jerry's best rhythm work. Like, dude, shut the hell up. No, it's not, okay? The way you talk about concerts is so pretentious. And the way that they just go on and on and on, it's almost like you're calling plays for a football team. I mean, think about it. Think if Shane Beamer was to go out on 3rd and 10, and then Lenoris' seller's helmet, Lenoris is getting the play call, and Shane's sitting over here behind the play sheet going, all right, Lenoris, listen up here, all right? November 9th, Memphis, Tennessee, Paisley Showroom, okay? They opened with Althea. All right, on two. And then Norris is going, wait. November 9th at the Paisley Showroom, Memphis, Tennessee. And then Beamer follows that up with, no, can. X motion, okay, Y zip, January 31st, okay, at Green's backyard, Seattle, Washington. Like, it's so pretentious, and I just can't wrap my head around it. So if you walk away from this segment knowing nothing about jam bands, I just want you to know they suck, right? And furthermore, if you ever encounter someone who is a fan of jam bands, the piece of advice that I would give you, run, okay? These fans, they move in hordes. They're all like-minded. They all kind of just mope around like this. They're zombies, okay? They are World War Z, okay? It is very scary and it's very problematic, and I'm just trying to be the forefront of the warnings of what the jam bands can do to our society. They're an existential threat. You heard it here first. Now that I've got off my soapbox here, we can actually get into Spag Says itself. We're very excited. Today's episode is our first one featuring a formal interview guest. I know this is bigger and better. It's what I've been telling you guys all along. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Spag Says. How about we talk about what's going on in the news? Is war over in the Middle East? It's starting to look that way. Last week, Israel and Hamas finally reached an agreement on a ceasefire deal. As part of that ceasefire, the two sides are to swap hostages and prisoners with one another. Both sides are celebrating the end of a conflict that just passed its second year of gruesome violence. This is major news in regard to peace globally. Taking part in brokering a ceasefire, President Donald Trump just visited Israel to recognize the war's end. As I'm sure many of you know, the U.S. is a very strong ally of Israel's, with Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, being good pals with one another. You know, one would think with the, due to the religious sacredness of a land like Israel, Trump would feel a little bit more confident about his chances of getting into heaven after having a helping hand in resolving this conflict. Nope, not at all. When speaking on his odds of getting into heaven, Trump said, "I don't think there's anything going to get me into heaven. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound." I suppose Trump's comments on his afterlife viability resolve any debates on the separation of church and state. Keeping things somewhat politically relevant, there is a gubernatorial race currently going on in California. Currently leading the Democrat ticket is former Congresswoman Katie Porter. So here's the deal, right? Right now, Katie Porter is catching a lot of flack. Videos have surfaced of Katie Porter being rude to her staff and just being an overall perfect embodiment of what it means to be a Karen. Furthermore, Porter's likability is coming under the microscope after her ex-husband accused her of dumping mashed potatoes on his head. Now, I'm not going to get in the political meat and potatoes, nice one, of Katie Porter as candidate for governor. In all honesty, I see a lot of parallels between myself and Porter. Katie Porter is disliked by her staff, and like Porter, my producer Abby absolutely hates me. Now, before I say anything else, I'm very clearly going to preface the next portion of the show by stating that what I am about to say is not political. Got it? So there's this dude named Brylan Hollyhand. Hollyhand is currently being pushed as this young, conservative, social media type personality. Once again, I am not saying anything political. The only reason why I'm bringing up Brylan Hollyhand is because of the name. I mean, let's be honest, it's a pretty goofy name. I mean, Brylan Hollyhand, I mean, think about it. That is the most SEC frat name I've ever heard. Like, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought Brylan Hollyhand was the pledge master of ATO at Ole Miss. Once again, I'm not saying anything political here. Okay. The one semi-political thing that I will say about Brylan Hollyhand, once again, that name is so unbelievably funny. The one thing I'll say about him is recently he posted on social media him at the University of Alabama, riling up enthusiasm amongst members of Gen Z and specifically conservative members of Gen Z. The only issue is, of the 100 people or so that Brylan Hollyhand included in this particular photograph, maybe 6 of them are actual members of Gen Z. The rest of the people pictured in the photo were last in college when news was still being delivered via the fireside chats. In other news, switching gears to pop culture, famous comedian and podcaster Mark Maron has announced that his podcast, the WTF podcast, is coming to an end. The final guest to be featured on the show was former President Barack Obama. Maron and Obama chopped it up about the final curtain being drawn on the podcast and what is next for Maron in his career. Look, here's the deal. Mark Maron is a comedian who I am a big fan of. So it is a little sad to see WTF to become no more. I mean, after all, Maron is the reason why I feel like my biggest contribution to fighting climate change is the fact that I bring my own reusable bags to the grocery store. Well, that's all I got for you in the news. There's probably more going on, but I don't care enough to cover it. After this break, we'll be featuring our very first guest here on Spag Says to be interviewed. We're very excited to have him on. Don't go anywhere. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we begin to close out this episode of Spag Says, we first have to welcome our very first formal interview guest on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty.
I see the sparkling little diamond.
Mr. Grant Presnell. My apologies. Grant, good to see you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Happy to be here.
Well, Grant, as I just said, look, you are the first formal interview guest we've had on Spag Says. I can't tell you how excited I am about that.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, first I just want to address you came dressed like $1,000,000. I mean, you could have gone through the motions, thrown on a t-shirt, some sweatpants, but you came dressed to the nines. I really appreciate that.
I understand that it's a big moment and had to be dressed right for it.
Yeah. There's no other reason why you're wearing the suit?
No.
Okay. Well, Grant, as I said, super excited to have you on the show. I personally would like to get to know a little bit more about you, and I think as well the viewers of Spag Says would like to get to know a little bit more about you. So just the first question, an introductory question, a layup, some might call it. Do you have a Bob Dylan impression? And if so, can I hear it?
Who's Bob Dylan?
Like Bob Dylan, like 1960s folk singer, like really famous. He had like a really kind of weird voice. He had like kind of like a really unique voice. Some might say like a bad voice, but he'd be like, like I like play my guitar and I sing the songs. You don't know.
Nah, no.
You've never heard of like a Rolling Stone? Like that song,
No.
it's like considered like one of the greatest songs of all time. It's like once upon a time, you're just so fine. Through the bums of time, in your prime. Didn't you? You don't know that?
No, I don't know.
No.
Who Bob Dylan is.
That's fine. We'll just move on to the next question.
Okay. It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
That's not on you. Who are you voting for the New York City mayoral election?
I live in South Carolina.
I know, but it's like big news. Like you've got the Republican Curtis Sliwa. He's like like the one guy in G.I. Joe who always wears like the beret.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of looks like that guy.
Yeah.
He's like kind of like weird, but he's not.
Like how weird?
Like I mean, he like full time wears this beret. Like he showers
okay.
with this beret on.
Mm-hmm.
Like he applies conditioner and shampoo onto said beret.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have Zohran Mamdani running on the Democratic side. He's like the socialist guy. People are like, oh no, he's going to turn New York City like communist and stuff. I just think his name's funny. I mean, Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah.
That's a weird name. Don't hear that one every day.
Well, there's like the sword guy, Zorro.
Yeah.
And that's close.
I mean, it's in the ballpark, absolutely.
I think I'm going Democrat
Yeah,
here. Just because of the name.
You're going Zohran Mamdani.
Yes.
Is this an official endorsement on Spag Says of Grant Presnell saying I'm casting my vote for Zohran Mamdani?
Absolutely not.
Cool. Grant, I want to get to know you on a more personal level. Tell me about the one that got away.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, it was young love.
Yeah, it always is.
She was always waiting for me when I came home. Right there in the doorway, I could still see her. We went on walks together. I cleaned up her feces.
Wait. What are you talking about? This is like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard type stuff.
It's not like that at all.
You
Can you just let me go?
Yeah, no, I'll let you go. But
Jesus. What kind of show is this? You're gonna ask me about my first love, and then you're gonna laugh in my face.
No, okay. Look, I'm sorry.
Let me go.
I'm
Let me
sorry,
tell you about
just-
it. You're gonna ask me a question.
Most marriages, couples, whatever, don't clean up each other's feces. I think it's very reasonable for me to be like thrown off.
We were
guard.
married.
Yeah, that's.
You sick. You'd marry your dog. I'm fucking.
Wait, Grant. Like, come, man, dude.
Go away, Stewart. I'm not doing your show. Stop bringing people
Grant,
here.
I'm sorry.
It's
man.
weird.
That was not on my bingo card. I had a planned, conclusion, wrap up for the show. That went out the window. I think it's safe to say that Spag Says the likelihood that we're going to have future guests on in the future is very much up in the air. Yeah. Come back next episode. Thanks. No, we're keeping it all in. We'll do it live. All right.